Good morning. It's the next day. I spent the night on the boat after removing the water tank. That's pretty much all I did yesterday. Stuck it in the van. It was starting to rain heavily. I was super hungry. Went and got something to eat. Went to bed early. Today's going to be a pretty light day too, but I have a lot of little things. I have a list of things to check out. I still have quite a few things to remove from the boat. I don't know how long I'll be here, but we're not going to be working really hard today. Some contortions will be involved, but not as bad as yesterday, and no heavy lifting like yesterday. I have to look at this transducer, this depth sounder situation again. I thought I knew what was up with it, but I was wrong. And I got to look again. There's got to be, part of it has to be inside the boat. It has to be. It goes through the hull. It's there. Anyway, got the water tank off the boat. Done. All plywood, yeah, all this stuff, the teak grate, the table. Got to get it out of here. I got to make some cardboard profiles for a few things that need to be cut and put in place. Got to remove the rest of that rotten rib and take more specifications for repairing it. The logical thing to do is remove stuff that's got to be removed to make room to do all the other stuff I got to do. So let's get started with that. La 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 la. That's a nice hunk of something. It may get used, but for now it's going to my house too. Same with this guy. Not gonna throw any of this away yet. Just need it out of my way. Table, I might have to take the leg off that to do that safely. This teak, the teak could go. I don't really need this right now. Yeah, that can go that way. Oh, okay. Gotta get that coffee before it gets cold. This little sucker. What else? Yep. You got a little, some kind of mold or something growing here. What is this finish? Some kind of laminate. Pretty cool. It's old. Oh, I know. I gotta tie these two wings together. There's little pad eyes underneath the table wings that allow you to strap it to them together. Oh yeah, leg first perhaps, yeah. Whoa. Easy. Freaking junk pile out here. Shouldn't hurt this too much. Eureka! We're not gonna throw this. Log that down. Throwable. Douche. How to do this? I don't know. I'm gonna do this one first. A little scary. Everything's kind of wet right now. It's rain and all that. Oh boy. All right, that worked. Oh, I just wish I had one helper. Wish me luck. All right, about this depth sounder. I had thought, and it might still be true, that it had been deleted, the hole was plugged, and this block was put in its place. Because as far as I can tell, this is about where it is. However,
looking on the outside, what I see on the outside is not a fairing, a cover, which I had assumed it was, that gets screwed on from the outside after. That's not how this transponder works. If you want to use the high-speed fairing, it has a hole in it, and it gets trapped between the hull and the transducer. And then the transducer has a hollow tube that's threaded that should come well up to into the boat and have a nut on it. The fairing is not out there. It's just the transducer. But I don't see the nipple, I don't see the hollow tube, and I don't see any wires. So I may be wrong. It may be farther inboard. If it's inboard, that means it's under this sole plate that is glued apparently in place right next to the mast step. Yeah, it's right under here. And to reach from inside the settee cabinet, reach inside. No, I'm in the way of the light. That's fine. There's wood there. To remove that, it's trapped underneath the whole settee furniture. So I have a choice now to get at it. I either have to demolish all of this or take a chance and try to get this plate up without doing too much harm to it. It looks like it... Oh, it's not cracked. It's in two pieces. But yeah, for some reason the holes were plugged. It was put in rather permanently. It's not supporting the mast or anything like that. It better not be. But yeah, I'm gonna have to try. Well, there was no way I could show you it, but I have deduced that this black cable here is definitely the wire for the transducer. I'm not sure what the white one is. So let me trace this back and see what's up. Okay, it turns out it is in fact part of this harness for the chart plotter. For my, whatever model this is, 451 or something like that. I wish I'd thought of this before I motored for 4 hours, because that's the only way to properly test a depth sounder. You can sort of rig a bucket of water under it or something like that, but that's really not going to work in this situation. But I'm going to try to hook it up, get some power to this, and see if there's some indication that it's there or something like that. Failing that, there may be a simple resistance check I can do to make sure it's okay. Yeah, this is the 541. I've updated the software before I came down here. It's pretty primitive. I keep forgetting it's not a touch screen. But it'll do for now, for the near future. Let's see. Full screen. Yeah, we can look at that. 52 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about right. It's seeing 12 volts. I don't know. How could I check it? I think that means it's online. The fact that I'm getting a temperature reading tells me it's online. But that may be the GPS. I don't know. It really only works properly in water. You have to immerse it in water. Even with a helper, I don't think I could get like a bucket of water up against it, against the hull right now. Although I've heard of people doing that. All right, I paused it. It's showing a depth of 20 feet. So that temperature reading, it would appear that that is from the unit. So it's at least giving me accurate temperature information. I'm just remembering now that I did have this hooked up. I was using this on the passage from Point Pleasant. I don't remember if I even tried accessing the depth finder. If I didn't, that was really foolish of me. But I was a little distracted. And I knew if I stayed in the channel, I'd have enough water under me. I think I'm just going to call that half-solved mystery for now. Anyway, not only are these batteries going to get replaced, but the location of batteries is going to move. These are pretty far from where from the bus is and all that jazz. That's a long run of 1 gauge. Also, as I may have mentioned earlier, I'd like to make freshwater tanks out of GRP that would go under here. At first I thought I would go in the forward ones, which are a little bit smaller, but if I move the batteries aft, and I'll talk about that location in a minute, I have room here and on the other side for some pretty massive tanks. I'm guessing over 20 gallons a piece, but I got to measure these bays and do a calculation. They're in a regular shape, so it's going to be approximate. But if I can get over 20 gallons in each of these, I think I'm going to go for that. I could go with a full length thing, but there is a 1/2-inch plywood bulkhead here. I don't think it is structural as regards the hull, but it kind of would hold all this stuff together better. I don't think I need to do that, and I don't want to give up all my storage under here. There'll be plenty of room here for all kinds of stuff, tools, canned goods, paint, that kind of stuff. Okay, just for guesstimation purposes, basically what I've got here is port side, starboard side. Nice P. This is the void I have to deal with. The one on the starboard side is a little longer. They're both about the same width. Call it 28 inches across the top. They taper a little bit, so average we'll call 28 inches. I've got about 12 inches of height to work with. The flat part at the bottom on each side is about 10 inches wide. Again, it tapers, but call it 10. So, and this is angled. This isn't 45, but if it were 45, we could say we got a 10 by 12 section in each one. And assuming if this is a 45, which it isn't, a 12 by 18. So 18, 12. Math skills, not so great. So that's 216. We got 216 plus 120. 6. When's the last time you saw somebody do additions and stuff this way? 336 square inches times the length, which, forget that one's longer than the other. Let's say they're both 30. 336 by 30. That's 10,080 square inches, cubic inches. That can't be right. Well, anyway, I know I divide that number by 231 to determine the number of gallons of any liquid for a given volume. 231. All right, I got to bust out the calculator for this. Let's start this over. I don't trust myself. 10 by 12 we know is 120. Yes, okay. 216. 18 by... Oh, yeah, I know why it was so high. I had to divide that in half. 18 by 28. 18 by 28 divided by 2. That's more reasonable. 252. That's actually a higher number. What? It's not 28, brother. It's only 18. 18 by 12. Call it 18 by 6, right? 18 by 6. Yes, that's more reasonable. 108 plus the 120. That's 228 square inches. Okay, not 336. Times 30. That gets us into 3D land, right? That's 6,840. Yeah. Divided by 231. 29.6 gallons. One on each side. Total of almost 60 gallons. That's way more than I would normally need. Even crossing an ocean by myself, I figure a gallon of fresh water a day. I can always carry jerry cans as well. I can always collect rainwater. Even if this rough calculation is off by 30%, if I can have 20 gallons on each side, I'll be happy. 25 would be great. 30 would be awesome. The plan is to make tanks out of GRP, fiberglass reinforced plywood, 1/2-inch marine ply, glued and screwed together with tops that come off, and inspection plates. I've already got the one inspection port. I can reuse that. More on the plumbing design later, but I won't really know how much it'll hold until I make one that fits. It's not going to be able to fill every inch of these voids because there's going to be plumbing fittings and whatnot. I got to figure out how to get water from the freshwater fill all the way to the bow, all the way to this starboard tank. Actually, let me take a minute to review this with y'all. Let's see if I can make sense of this for you. This is not to scale. Basically, the way it's going to work is like this. You got your port tank, your starboard tank. There's the empty bay. Way up here is the fill. I've got a cabinet, 2 cabinets to go through, but it'll work. Have a hose of the appropriate diameter. It's that water fill, I think it's 1.5 inches, and angled so that it gently slopes down, right? It's going to fill that tank. Then at the bottom of this tank, there's going to be a crossover pipe, or hose, I should say. That'll probably actually, it's easier for me to access. Well, I don't know. It'll come from somewhere, one end or the other, but is low to the bottom of the tank so that it passively drains out. I may have to make this tank a little shallower so it can sit higher, so that way water will always generally, assuming the boat's sitting level and not moving, it'll generally flow towards the other tank. And it'll fill that tank from the bottom, which is okay. Each of these tanks is going to be vented, kind of like that water tank I removed from the forepeak. So as you fill it, this will fill from the bottom without backing up, because it'll be pushing the air out all the time, right? It might be clever to be able to isolate these tanks, but I'd have to have separate fills for them if I wanted to do that. I may or may not have a shutoff valve here. Could come in handy. If one of them gets contaminated, I don't know. That would involve jerry-rigging something anyway. I got to think about that. But generally speaking, in terms of flow, in terms of what else I want to have going on here, the water will drain from this tank. Then there will be a T. Okay. One branch of that T will go to the foot pump in the galley sink that's already there for fresh water. The other one will go, I'm going to run out of room to draw this. The other one will go to a pressure pump, and a 12-volt pressure pump that will be demand activated. In other words, if you open a tap, it'll go off. Actually, this isn't going to work. I can't do a T here. That's right. I already thought about that. I'll wind up with suction on the back of that diaphragm pump, which would be bad. It's going to have a separate drain from the freshwater tank. So now, even if I don't have power, I can still access my fresh water, right? But if I do have power, I can pump it to the cold side of a mixer type tap that I somehow got a rig near the galley sink, and to a little electric hot water heater, probably a 6-gallon 120 powered, that will live under the galley sink. There's actually room for one that I've looked at, a Bosch I think it was. That hot water will go to the hot water side of this, and both of these will be teed off downstream of the pressure washer to go to another hot water mixer, probably a deck washer type wand sprayer thing that's going to be a shower in the head, sort of. That's the general idea. And meanwhile, I will still have my raw water intake foot pump. That's going to be undisturbed. I won't have hot water with foot pressure, but that's okay. I think that could work really well. It's going to be a lot of doing, a lot of parts, a lot of money. But maybe, just maybe, it'll happen this year. We'll see.